Welcome to Podcast, the Business of Dentistry podcast, brought to you by Practice Plan. Podcast delivers the best business advice, real-life stories, and practical hints and tips to make your practice a more profitable and sustainable business. And now, here's your host.
Hello and welcome to Practice Plan podcast. With me today is Donna Hall. She's one of our regional support managers. And the reason that Donna's with me today is we're going to be talking about plans and when they get out of kilter with your pay-as-you-go prices. So what sort of things could cause that then, Donna?
So often, Hazel, it'll be caused by two scenarios. Either you have put your pay-as-you-go fees up, but you haven't put your plan up in line. It can be the opposite, where practices have put their plan up every year, but have forgotten to bring the pay-as-you-go in line with the plan. So quite often when, we're looking at a practice portfolio, long-standing practices that have been with us, we'll be looking at the plan prices and how they stack up. Quite often you'll find it's because dentists have been a little bit reluctant to be as brave with their fee increase as they perhaps need to. So that's something we would look at as part of your review meetings with you, to, even if it's just to put it on your radar that there is an issue, because you might not have realised yourself. Quite often owners don't realise the extent of the issue. So when we work it out, quite often you'll find a plan might be almost given a free hygiene away or a free checkup. And when you start to put it into real terms like that, the reality hits. We've got a problem here. And then, it's how do we help you?
And what about when it's the other way, when the plan is actually more expensive than the pay-as-you-go?
That can be a challenge, and it would really depend on how far out of kilter it is. If it was a small amount per year, you could fix that quite easily by building more things into the plan. So, for example, if you're a practice that see emergencies for free, if they're a plan patient, but you would charge a pay-as-you-go, we could build that fee in to show that saving on the plan. If obviously you're able to put your pay-as-you-go fees up, that's another solution. As I say, it depends how big that gap is. I would always discourage a practice getting to a point where they have to decrease their plan prices, but it has been known. It really depends on the situation and how big a mess it is, really.
So what sort of business effects can it have when you're out of kilter one way or the other?
Massive, particularly when it's underpriced as opposed to overpriced. Less of an issue if you're charging more than you need to. Yeah. The challenge you've got then is not only are you effectively giving away quite often whole appointments for free, it can be an impact on how you pay your associates and what they earn. If they're being paid a sum of money for the plan and it's based on a lower plan fee than the pay-as-you-go, you'll quite often get associates disengaged with the plan and say, well, why would I bother? I'm better off on a pay-as-you-go model. And you never want that to be the case. No. Obviously it hits your bottom line massively. I run these calculations quite often, and sometimes it can be 10 grand a year they're losing, but I've had the extreme where it's been 100 plus. Wow. If I said to you, look, I've got a suitcase with 100k in, what would that do for your business? It's massive.
It's huge.
It's huge. So when you actually bring it to life for an owner and you say you do realise what your minimal fee increases have now caused, the reality hits, and it's that, okay, I didn't realise it was that bad. Because they'll quite often just see that the plan might be £2 or £3 a month underpriced. Yeah. Oh, it's okay, it's only a couple of quid a month. But that really adds up over a year. And of course, the more appointments you've got in a plan, the bigger potential issue that is. So if you've got a plan that's 2 exams and 4 hygiene, that's 6 appointments effectively, that if all of them are under delivering on the hourly rate, the impact of that is huge.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like it's the sort of thing that you probably have to handle quite carefully, because you're looking at someone's feelings, the way they feel about that, the pricing and everything, isn't it? So what's your approach?
Well, I often find, Hazel, that the biggest challenge often is either the owners or it can be the practice managers. That, no disrespect to either, and it's because they come in it from that human element of, these are my patients, I don't want to upset anyone, times are hard, we're in a cost of living crisis. We can have that detachment because they're not our patients, and of course it's easier for us to say, look, but I understand the human element, we're all struggling, however, you're struggling as a business because your overheads are through the roof. Let's help you try and mitigate some of that. Now, again, depending on how big a gap we're talking, Often it can be caught up over, say, 2 or 3 years worth of increases.
Right.
Sometimes you have to be a little bit brave. I have had the scenario where I've had owners say, it's so far out, I'm never, ever going to make that difference up, no matter even if I put £2 or £3 on every, year on year. So another option is to think about taking plan appointments out of the model that you offer.
Right.
So, for example, you might have a 2 exam, 2 hygiene model. It might work cost effectively to make that a 1 exam and 2 hygiene. And therefore, we would write to the patients for you and we do a change of terms.
Right.
So we have to give patients a month's notice and we can change the terms of their plan. Quite often, that solves the problem. Once you get past a point where taking 1 appointment out doesn't solve, you might need to think about taking 2 appointments out, or you might just have to really bite the bullet 1 year and say, I accept I'm going to have some patient loss. But think as an owner, the money you will make up from increasing your fees significantly will far outweigh the ones that will cancel because they're disgruntled by the big increase. You get to personalise your fee increase letters with us. So we give our practices the ability to increase once a year, every year, and you're invited to do that every year. We have lots of practices that say, I won't do one this year or do one every other year. And this is where the problem snowballs.
Yeah.
But if you do the fee increase, not only will we help you work out what the fee increase needs to be, we'll give you the suggestions, we'll help you through the process, we'll help you personalise your letter so that you can explain a little bit why it's a bigger jump than they might be expecting. But also making sure that things like your fee comparison's up to date in the practice, because if you can evidence to a patient how good a value the plan is, even just with the benefits you build in, they don't need to save money by being a plan member.
No.
That's a real misconception I come across, that the plan has to be cheaper than the pay-as-you-go. It doesn't, it just can't be more expensive.
Do you know, I always thought that it had to be cheap.
Yeah,
had
a
to be
lot of
better
people
value.
do.
Yeah. Popular
Yeah.
misconception.
It
that one
is.
then, yeah.
And often I find with that, Hazel, unless you're going to save a patient significantly, and I'm talking £40, £50 a year for being on a plan, if you're going to save me £10 a year, it's neither here nor there. So why give the £10 away? Because you feel the impact of that way more than the patient feels the benefit.
Yeah.
So my advice is get your plans costed correctly. Now, of course, that's just one solution, which is to do it through fee increase. The other option, and this is something that we do day in, day out for practices, is we will set new plans up for new joiners at a higher fee.
Right.
Because why keep adding to a problem that you know is broken?
Yeah.
So we will work with you to figure out, what do the new plans need to be? Let's get those set up. Let's get your marketing literature to reflect that. We close the old plans off so that the people on them stay as they are until you do your fee increase. But new patients join on the correct fee to deliver the hourly rate you need to earn.
And that sorts the problem out, does it usually?
It solves the problem for new joiners, certainly.
Yeah.
With the existing, say, it is a process of fee increase, and I say how brave you want to be with that. But, we will advise you throughout that process what we feel is the right thing to do. And then, of course, it's your decision, it's your business how far you take that fee increase.
Yeah, I suppose your initial advice is don't panic, we can deal with this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you have to do something.
Yeah.
You can't just sit on this and continue to ignore it. You might find that you've missed your fee cycle.
Right.
Happens quite a lot. Practices get lots of reminders to do their fee increase, but quite often they, life gets busy, gets overlooked. They don't have time to think about it. So they will miss their cycle. We can absolutely put you into the next cycle and move you. It just means then moving forward, that would be your new cycle. And that way you're not having to wait a whole other year.
Yeah.
So please always, if you have missed your fee increase cycle, get in touch and say, I know I've missed, but I would still like to increase this year. Otherwise, you won't get asked again for another 12 months.
Yeah, because that's what you're there for, aren't you, really?
Absolutely. We're here to hold your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. And then, so if anybody is actually struggling at the moment and are concerned about things, your advice is
Get in touch.
Get in touch.
Get in touch with your regional support manager, whoever looks after you. Give us a call, get in touch and let us start having a look at what your current situation is, and how we can help you. The other occurrence, this happens a lot, Hazel, is when you get a new owner come in.
Yeah.
That, that scenario, quite often a new owner's financial situation will be very different to an exiting owner. Exiting owners quite often are very comfortable with what they earn. They accept they're not quite earning enough money, and we see that with treatment fees as well as plan. And then a new owner comes in and says, I've got all this debt, I've just bought this business, and actually I can't afford to give that money away. So again, we'll work really closely with you in a change of ownership to look at all of this as well.
I assume that's an easier situation to deal with in some respects because there's not the relationship hasn't developed yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's easier in some respects, as in, as a new owner coming in, you don't have that sort of love and loyalty to your patients yet. But the challenge with it is you are a new owner coming in. And of course, how are the patients going to take lots of change very quickly? Again, very often depends whether the exiting owner is staying on for a period of time.
Yeah.
If they are, my advice is do what you need to do while they're still there,
Yeah.
because it will be taken far better by patients.
Right. Otherwise, unfortunately, rip off the sticking plaster and get it done.
Sometimes you have to. Yeah, you do. Yeah. So you quite often, you'll say to practice, you sometimes have to go backwards slightly. Plan, we look at plan as how many patients do you have on a plan? And, you're looking for that growth in numbers. But there's two sides of it. There's a growth in patient numbers, but there's a growth in income.
Yeah.
And actually, the growth in income is far more important than the number of people you've got on a plan. It's how much money am I generating from that, and is it delivering what I need it to?
Yeah, it's like turnover is vanity, profit is sanity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good, brilliant. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Donna.
You're
I think
welcome.
you've come up with some brilliant ideas for people there. But
Yeah.
the most important thing that I'm taking away is don't panic.
Yeah.
Just get it touched.
Just get in touch. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.